I really feel like happiness is a choice. Like, I think suffering is optional. And, you know, I know it's easier for me to say. I know there's people out there that have had it much, much worse than me. You know, it's difficult, right? Because sometimes we're going through just crazy shit. And I think it's important to embrace that and to own it and choose to use it for the good.
Boom. We're here. Spencer Taylor, what up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, bro. It's nice to see you.
Living the dream.
We should have recorded our conversation that we had a couple days ago. That was podcast worthy.
I was telling Sky that the other day. I was like, damn, that thing was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I apologize if we go over some of those things, but
let's dive in.
What I love about you and your story is that you have gone through a lot in a short period of time. You've gone through a lot of personal growth, and you've had the luxury and the privilege, but also the struggle to succeed and fail in multiple different things to get to where you're at today.
Yeah.
Now you have, it seems that you just have access to this limitless potential in your brain. You truly believe you can do and manifest anything, and it shows in your life with what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And just recently I saw your film with the rainforest in Bolivia.
Yeah, thank you.
So
thank you.
Are you just sitting home one day and you're seeing this? You're like, you know what? I'm going to go out there. I'm going to make some moves.
Dude, it's all on the fly for me. I think that's like how I try to live life. I think there's so many structures that society has, and it's just the way we grow up. It's the way our education system treats us. So I try to be creative. Like if something's placed on the table in front of me and it's a cool opportunity and it makes sense, I'm going to do it. And so I got invited to a lunch meeting, and the guy I sat down, his name is Nick Rose, and he's actually the reason why the Amazon fires became a viral thing. He sent the image to Leonardo DiCaprio. So I had a lunch meeting with him, a mutual friend of ours, Paulo Moreno. He connected us, and then, I was just like, yo, do you want to come down to the Amazon? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so 5 days later, I was down on a plane down to Bolivia.
Is Paulo the guy who's running for mayor?
No. I don't know anything about politics. I'm not going to lie.
Right. I remember I saw in the video, there was some dude there that was like
down in Bolivia. No, Paulo is Logan Paul's CEO over at Maverick.
Gotcha.
And so I've got a really good relationship with him since I was working with Logan. And he's really helped me out on a lot of the business side of things, because I'm definitely more of a creative.
Interesting. It's cool because when we first met was back in Vima days through network marketing, which connected so many people.
It did.
And what was very interesting in that situation was there was a lot of leaders that didn't know each other. Everyone was kind of running their own teams, but you had this really cool mission that you were doing. You ran this company called YPR All Access, or if it was a video series. And basically you would interview all of these interesting people and just put it all together. And I think that's when we first met. And the series was, your videos were fantastic.
Dude, thank you. Yeah, the vision back then. So, Vima was an awesome opportunity to connect with people in college that were entrepreneurs, that were doing just something different, man. Like they weren't going the traditional 9 to 5, like get a job, get a stable career. These were people that were down to shake up the system. And that's always driven me. I started making videos and just like helping out wherever I could. That led me all over the country, literally all over the world. I started traveling in college. I'd be in like Austria, and then I'd be sitting in my college classes the next day. Like it was a crazy lifestyle back then.
Is your first love filmmaking?
Definitely. Yeah. Ever since I was a young kid, my grandpa always had like a giant ass camera that he would be filming us with. And, it was just, I was always around cameras. And I remember my parents bought this, Sony like camcorder, and it had a pop out tape, and my sister and I would just make home videos, and it was so much fun, dude. I fell in love with it for sure back when I was really young.
Yeah, we were just talking about the evolution of cameras. It's going so quick. This photographer, he's shooting in the jungle. Shaz is his name. We're going to have him on the podcast soon. He says they shoot in 8K now in the jungle. Yeah. I recently saw the series Our Planet. It's easily the most visually appealing, beautiful work of art I've ever seen. I mean, it's like, damn, you just can look at nature, and that's better than any film that's coming out. Yeah. It's amazing.
I love that stuff, man. I think National Geographic and Our Planet, those types of pieces of content have really motivated me. I think when you see nature like that, you're like, damn, dude, this planet's sick. Like, we got to take care of it. And I think, you know, there's a clear, there's clearly issues that we're causing as humans, and you can see it. And nature is like the most entertaining thing.
When you zoom in and get those new shots, it's like we're seeing things like never before.
Or you see like some lizard running away from like 50 snake, like 10,000 snakes. Have you seen that clip?
That is easily probably the greatest clip I've ever seen in my life.
It's crazy, and he gets away.
And that
like
he didn't get no medal.
No,
he just survived.
No, that's just nature for you, bro.
Nature is savage.
Yeah, you got to get away from the snakes.
Yeah. Do you know the Instagram account Nature is Metal?
No.
It basically is exactly what it sounds like. It tells you all the most effed up things that happen in nature, but just kind of just puts like yo, shit is real.
Yeah,
things go down in the world.
Nature's no joke. Yeah. You used to have to, I mean, we're like so safe now, you know, like
too safe.
Yeah. If you like unplug yourself and you're in the jungle, you're like, damn, dude, I'm not at the top of the food chain. Like, I got to fend for myself.
You were talking about yesterday, I was telling you that I need to work on depugging more and just getting more in touch with nature. It's just, I think everybody who's listening could agree that maybe at some point they could probably be in the same situation. I feel like maybe by having my phone on me all the time, I do feel safe. The phone is almost this safety thing because we are so connected. Yeah. Like just putting it away and going out on a walk by yourself, I feel like just stimulates that sense that you're out here, you're in the jungle, you're making moves. I feel like we need to do that more.
Yeah, definitely. So we were talking the other day, I studied with Shaolin monks for a little bit, and the Eastern philosophies are really special because, you know, the philosophies in a sense teach you how to reach these levels of consciousness without any psychedelics, without a phone, you know, like telepathy. Like there's all this stuff that I've just been fascinated with ever since I started learning about it. So in the back of my mind, I'm always like, hey, a cell phone, I don't need it to communicate, right? So I guess when I'm using it, it's just kind of a luxury. And switching that mindset of understanding there is a way, like I'm not going to lie, like there's plenty of work I have to do to master my mind. I don't think we ever master it, but I think when you understand that a cell phone is just a mechanism, it's just a tool for us to connect, but there's a higher level of us connecting, I think that keeps a balance, right? It keeps a desire to unplug.
It's cool because after the whole Vima journey went down, you took a very big step that I feel like must have been a very solid play for you at the time. And that was working with Bob Proctor. How did that come apart? How did you get that opportunity with Bob? And because I remember a few months after everything goes down, I see, you know, Spencer in private jets with Bob P, you know, the legend of law of attraction at the time. And he was like the godfather. He's the one who introduced it to us back in those days.
Yeah.
That must have been pretty powerful.
Definitely. Yeah. I remember I was in my college dorm room and at Michigan State, and I was hella lost, man. I was super broke, going into debt for college, had no idea what I wanted to do, and I was reading a book called The Laws of Success from Napoleon Hill. And I remember reading the book, and in the very beginning of the book, it talks about this book is based off of basically the mindset of like 500 of the world's most successful and wealthiest people of the 1900s. And I remember saying, you know what? Like my way of thinking is just not working. Like it's just not. And I got real with myself and I was like, I'm going to read this book and I'm going to apply this book. Like for sure I'm going to apply it. And I started to read it. I started to apply it. I started setting goals. And I remember I put a vision board on my wall with like a private jet, like all the things I wanted and the places I wanted to travel. And literally within a year, I was flying on a private jet with Bob Proctor. Like in that dorm room when I was lost, I had absolutely no concept of what was coming. I think for me, I just bought into a whole different way of thinking. And that just motivated me to how quickly things can change.
It's cool your awareness shifted, that you were aware that your brain was thinking differently.
Definitely.
I think there's a lot of people that are aware, say the education system's jaded, or that their job might not be their full love, or that, you know, their partner might not be the person, but they're, you know, not willing to just take that step into the unknown.
Yeah. And dude, the biggest changes come with the smallest things. Like it's all in the details. Like how you react, how you judge, how you talk about people behind their backs, like all the energy that you're putting out, that dictates what you attract. And so a lot of people read these books. A lot of people read the same books as me. A lot of people, were aware of that stuff, but they weren't applying it, right? You can read a book. That doesn't do shit. You have to actually do something with it. So, I would see people reading the same book as me, and then they're talking shit about someone behind their back. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, shouldn't you know this book is telling you that it's not serving you. It's only hurting you. And so everybody's ego is what they're dealing with. That's the biggest thing that you have to tackle. The biggest enemy is yourself. Like, if you're vulnerable and you can admit your way of life is not leading you to your highest self and your highest potential, boom, you found the issue. It's yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And that comes down to vibe source, your whole mission, your philosophy. Mm-hmm. Vibe stands for, visualize yourself better every day.
Exactly.
You got it tatted.
Exactly. Got it tatted.
Boom. There it is.
Yep.
So the day you learned about vibe, was it just kind of like, oh, okay. It started with the vibrations.
Yeah.
And then this just worked well with what you were learning.
Yeah. I remember I was reading about the law of vibration. And I started to work with Bob Proctor, and he's all about the law of vibration. Like, the law of attraction is a secondary law. The primary law is the law of vibration. So whatever you put yourself in harmony with, you attract. It's about shifting your mindset and thinking and feeling, more so feeling as if you already have what you want and what you're creating. That's how it that's how it comes to you. That's how all the connections start to be made, and then the more you move forward, it happens. So I've always been fascinated by vibrations, like everything around it, like this microphone, the desk, the audio going into people's headphones right now, that's all a vibration. So our words, everything we speak is powerful.
Have you ever been a musician?
I've got one song that I released actually on Spotify. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. It's called Palm Trees.
Shout out.
Yeah. I plan on making a lot more music. I have some in the works, but I've got so much on the plate right now with documentary film. So that's first, and then music. I love music.
Here's a question. What would you say to a skeptic, somebody that thinks, you hear right now, Spencer's like, oh, well, I put this on my vision board of a private jet, and then a year later I blink and I'm there. There's always a big gap between the taking action towards your dreams as well as the visualization. How would you kind of direct somebody to completely stop being a skeptic about believing the law of attraction and implementing it?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is, what do you got to lose?
Yeah.
Like, if your life is shitty and you can recognize it and you can just be like, damn, my life is not as good as I want it to be, then stop being a skeptic. Like, try stuff. And I think once you start trying stuff, that's when you can start to refine it, and that's when you can start to make it your own. But if you have the ego up front and you're like, no, that doesn't work, then you're closed off to it.
Yeah.
Then it could work. And I think it's a process that people have to go through.
The ego's the front-facing demon crushing us all.
Yeah. The ego is our greatest teacher, because when we have these great successes, and if we ever let ego get to us, we lose it, and then we learn how to overcome it. So ego is necessary, right? Like, ego is kind of what's driving the destruction of our planet, but it's necessary because it's like the light and the dark, the yin and the yang. It's something that we ultimately get to choose every single day. Do I want to make decisions? Do I want to do things based off of ego, or do I want to do it because that's the right thing to do?
When you study with the Shaolin monks, was that one of the biggest purposes almost? Are they all about that, eliminating ego? Yeah,
big time. I think the Eastern and we were talking about this, the Eastern and the Western philosophies, I think there's a hybrid that meets right in the middle. I think when you go to some Eastern, practices like monks, some of them think women are the enemy. Like, stay away from women, stay away from all desires, don't do anything, like, go meditate and, cash out when you're ready. And I don't think that's the move, for me at least. It might be for some people, but I think there's a blend between, having a vision, creating goals, and creating something, being creative, but then also taking what's good from the Eastern philosophies, which is eliminating the ego, taking yourself out of it and living for a higher purpose. I think all religions talk about that. I don't think it's just Eastern philosophies. I think everybody down to their core, with religious, principles, believe that there's a higher power.
Yeah.
And that's more important than us. We're just here to, experience to grow and to learn and to play and have fun and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's interesting that you met this Shaolin monk actually at a Bob Proctor seminar. Is that what you said?
Yeah, he attended the seminar. It was, a seminar that cost like 15 grand to go to. And, he's wearing a suit. It wasn't a traditional monk. And he really stood out to me. And he could read energy. It was a whole different level. There's a lot of like success and material things and all that kind of stuff. That didn't ever resonate with me. I wanted to create. I'm a creative. So I love material things. Like I'm down for that. But what's higher on the spectrum for me is just inner happiness, inner peace. And the Shaolin is all about that. It's all about tapping into that.
The deeper you go into learning about all that, do you feel like your ability to read energy improves? So anybody that's listening can tap into this new way of thinking, and slowly and surely they'll be able to read energy and be able to feel everything more?
Some people can read energy more because they're more empathic. They can feel things a lot more. And also, it's all about aligning yourself with the pure frequency. Like we were talking about this. I think the more pure you become, the more you can read energy. You can feel it. Like your intuition isn't lying to you. It's saying, no, that's not the right way to go. That's not the right person. But everybody can feel energy. A lot of people just have been abusing their intuition. So now their intuition's lying to them. And that's a really dangerous place to be, because we've all done it. We've all been like, oh, this is a really good opportunity. I'm going to do this. And then you find out, 2 years later, 6 months later, whatever, you're like, oh, that was horrible. These people were terrible. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
So that's a big thing that you have to tap into, is understanding that intuition.
I feel like the people that are big in the energy world, they tend to be more in the now. They live in the present more, and you can see it on their faces and the look of joy and happiness.
Yeah.
Because they're feeling it. They're feeling life instead of looking towards the future, living on our future predicaments, looking at our phones, looking at the notifications, just living in someplace else. They're just in the moment. And that's something I struggle with, but it's something that I'm trying to master.
Yeah. Well, I used to want to read people's energy, right? I was like, oh, I want to learn how to do that.
And it sounds like something like you're like an airbender.
Yeah, it sounds epic. But the reality of it is, in order to read energy, you don't need to like practice a bunch of stuff and like go, dip off into a mountain and tap in. Like you don't need to do that.
Train a wild tiger.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be lit. Don't get me wrong, but you don't need to do it. I think the best thing that you can do to read energy is purify yourself. And, instead of concerning yourself with like reading other people's energy, it's more just become pure, right? Tap into yourself. Tap into when you're born as a child, you're pure. That's why kids just bring so much joy, because they're fresh from source. So that's what we aspire. That's what we should aspire to be like, is mimic kids, right? Kids aren't greedy. Kids aren't trying to like steal. They're just experiencing. They're just open vessels. So I think kids kind of teach us like everything we need to know about what it means to truly be pure. And the more pure you are, and the more, in control of your intentions that you are, like you really truly have good intentions, life is going to lead you to all the right people, and it's going to reveal to you all the wrong people.
True.
And not all the wrong people are people to stay completely away from, but they are people to recognize, and they're people to watch out for.
And the people that have had success in any facet of life have been around this enough to be able to probably recognize it much more than others.
Yeah.
So even if you change your energy and you change just your overall perspective, if you're a good person and you don't have these awful intentions, chances are you are going to be able to connect with that person, because I have found people are very open to sharing their stories. Definitely. People are really open to sharing their philosophies. They want to do it. It's one of those things that once you know it, you want to share it, which is why YouTube's so successful, right?
Big time.
It's interesting. I go back to all of this whole idea of the film and the world, and something that blows my mind with you is that you have been able to learn a lot, but because of your film background, you can actually put it into actionable change.
Yeah.
But before I get into that, if there was somebody that wanted to get into all of those years of when you were in the Shaolin business, right?
Yeah.
Is there a certain book or something that you would direct someone if they wanted to get like a 4-week course in what you learned over those years with that mentor?
Yeah. I'm not that good with books and names of books. Like, I think everybody's path is so different. Like, I don't like recommending a specific book to people. I think it's just like, there's already enough podcasts out there. There's already enough books out there. Just find the books that resonate with you and then take the best from that. Find the mentors out there that you resonate with and go work with them. Like, that's the biggest, I think above a book, it's like find somebody who really actually, you know, draws you to them and go study there. That's
what I asked you, because you have a really good background in all sorts of different religions and philosophies. And I asked you, where did you learn this from? And you said mentors.
Yeah.
People.
Definitely.
Because you like to see someone who's living it. That's the person you want to get the advice from.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there, man, that they're sharing really good messages, but they don't live it. Like, you can just see it in people. Like, my mentors, they were, you know, one of them was like over 60 years old and he could still like kick his leg up, martial arts, like over his head, you know, like he could like flick his wrist and you like heard this like, whoosh. Like, I'm serious. These people are legit. And then there's other people that they're not about it. You know, they're just like, they know the information, they're regurgitating it, they're kind of claiming it as their own. And that does a lot of injustice to a lot of people. So it's like, that's why I struggle recommending books, because
every person's going to be a different whole.
Yeah.
You know.
Like, take what's best from each person, but, you know, just apply it. Like, that's the biggest thing. There's enough information that you already have up to this point. Just apply the things you know. Don't get caught up in your mind thinking, oh, I need to know more. I need to go to It'll happen.
Have you ever gotten stoked about like martial arts or any of that stuff?
Yeah, dude. I would love to get into martial arts. I've talked about that. I'm big into triathlons right now, so that's like really my main focus, and documentary, like I said, that's kind of like where all my energy is. I'm really big on like find a few things, like 1 or 2 or 3 things that, you know, you're really passionate about, dedicate your life to those, and then once you kind of get into a point where you're like close to mastery, then you can go on to other stuff. So
what do you do to consume nutrients during that?
Yeah. There's gels that you have, because if you eat solid food, it like can really mess you up. So this first Ironman was 85 degrees as well. So it was so hot. We were in the Adriatic Sea in Italy, and there was jellyfish everywhere. This is my first experience. Like, it was crazy, man. It was a very intense experience. But for nutrition, you know, you have liquid formulas in your bottles, and then you're eating like these sugar gels along the way, but it's like 11 hours of constant, you know, like going. So it's tough.
Is it pure mental battle?
Yeah. Like,
definitely. Your body can keep moving.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it can't, but you always can keep going. You know, you got to listen to your body though, because like if you go out and you're going too hard, you're gonna crash. And like, you know, I would pass people who literally would be on their bike, pass out, crash, and like on the ground.
Just eat it.
Yeah. And just be unconscious because of heat. So you have to, you know, that stuff, it's about the mind, but it's also about fusing the mind with the body. And that's why I love it. That's why I love triathlon. You know, any distance sports, you can't be all mind, you can't be all body. It's got to be a blend between the mind and the body. The two have to be working together. And I think we were talking about this with personal development. A lot of it's about the mind. You know, you're just dancing around up here in the mind, and then you forget. Like, I know people who actually believe, like, I'm not going to say names, but they believe that what you eat is not important. It's like, it's all mental. Like, you could basically have, you know, McDonald's every day and you're still going to get the nutrients if you're like, you know, if you mentally know how to like program the food.
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah.
I think that's all complete bullshit. I think it's complete bullshit, because find me one person that does that who can also do an Ironman. Like, you're not going to be able to.
Maybe if you're in college, because you just, you know, you can drink 13 beers and still wake up the next morning. Yeah. But not even when you're a grown-ass person.
Yeah, even at that, like, I'm in way better shape than I was in college.
And well, you're all about that health and wellness game, though. I mean, are you still on a water fast?
No, I just wrapped it.
Nice.
Yeah, so I did a 3-day fast. I did incorporate some juices because I went on a run and I was feeling it. But yeah, just knocked out a fast.
Is water fasting, for people that have never tried it, as simple as just saying, F it, I'm just going to drink water for the next 3 days?
No. You got to be careful. You got to kind of work your way into it. So I don't recommend people that have never fasted to just go into a 3-day fast. I think what I would do is, you know, try 1 day, right? Try 24 hours of no food. Or even if you're just starting, like do intermittent fasting. So keep your eating window to like 3-4 hours and then don't eat for, the rest of the day. Wake up, do the same thing. Fasting is huge. Like there's a reason why Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. Like it's a very deep spiritual practice where when you eliminate food from your diet, so much of our mental health, our issues that we have is because our food. And when you ask the typical average person, when's the last time you went a whole day without eating? Most people might say, I've never done that.
That's such a big issue that people don't know.
Yeah.
Like you think about modern science and everything that's known. People don't do that. But you look at cultures that do that and they do it religiously.
Yeah.
No pun intended in the sense that it's for your body.
Right.
It's good.
Think about when you break a bone, right? Like just say you like have a stress fracture or even a fracture. What does your body do? It heals. Right? It heals the bone without you doing anything. Your body is designed to heal itself. So if you've gotten into a point where you have cancer, if you have, some disease or whatever, your body can heal. And I think what Western medicine does is they say, oh, well, we can give you a pill.
Band-Aid medicine.
Yeah, exactly. Surface level stuff. So, fasting, eating, really high vibrational foods is what I'm really big on. And I think every single person can heal their body. I know genetics are a big, they play a big role, but when you do the research, it's like well over 90% of the diseases that we have are not genetic. It's actually lifestyle.
You got to get the good foods. What's your go-to healthy meal?
Yeah, what I have over there, I do salads. I've got like different greens, and then I do cooked foods as well.
You're all about Erewhon, right?
Yeah, Erewhon here in Los Angeles. We're spoiled out here in LA. LA's got, so much vegan food. It's a really good spot. But no, I try to keep it like 80% more raw and then 20% cooked. Raw, the reason being is when you cook foods over 118 degrees, it kills the enzymes in the food. So what that means is that when you have the food, it's sitting in your stomach. Enzymes are basically like a Uber driver. They're taking the food that's coming into your system and it's delivering it to the cell. And without those enzymes, it's much harder for your body to break down the nutrients that your body needs. So if you're having like really cooked foods, lots of spices, lots of seasonings, you'll see people in cultures that have like heavier, denser foods. They've got big bellies. They're really sick. Like heart disease is on the rise. It's cooked food. It's processed food. Like all that stuff. I do not mess with any processed sugars, anything like that. Like high fructose corn syrup, soda.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff is out of my diet.
People are definitely getting woke to the realization that high fructose corn syrup is bad. But manufacturers have also figured that out too by saying, in big bold letters, no high fructose corn syrup. Right. But if you look at the directions, they're still plummeted with stuff. Yeah,
dude. Most stuff that says like natural or like,
that's another college course you need. Just reading food labels. Yeah. 101.
Well, and also like USDA organic means 95% of what's in that is organic, not 100%. So USDA organic, you have to pay $10,000 just to get that label. So think about that. You could put 5% of like just horse crap in a product and it's still organic.
Yeah. Cleaning supplies are one of the biggest causes of a lot of this stuff. The cleaning supplies we use, like ant killer, rodent killer, it's in every common household American's
goes into our water, all this stuff. Yeah, when we talk about this kind of stuff, I was just having the conversation. I don't like, bringing this up to be negative. I like bringing this up because it's an opportunity, right? Like for people out there listening to this, for anybody out there, the biggest opportunities, there's so many opportunities. Opportunity exists it's like fish, swimming in water. It's the same thing. Opportunities exist to humans as water is to a fish. Like we have limitless opportunities all around us. And you can see by all these dated things with our food supply, with our education system, with transportation, like there's endless opportunities for us.
There's so much problems that need to be solved that anyone can choose to solve.
Yeah, we could never solve all the problems we have in this lifetime. So for people that are complaining about, what do I do? I'm lost. I don't know. It's like,
solve a problem, homie.
Solve a problem. Find a problem and solve it. And believe in yourself.
You'll feel so good about it too.
When you find a problem, like for me, education, I found out education is a problem because of my experience with education. I had a really, really shitty time with my K through 12. It was just not for me, man. I was a very creative kid. I did not like school, like the structure of school. I liked to draw. I liked to, play with cameras. I liked to create. I loved all that kind of stuff. And so school just disregarded that. But when you get to the top of who's solving the problem, like fast forward, from my experience with education, 10 years, I started to like say, hey, I'm going to try to fix this education system. And then the more you start to go, you're like, damn, I thought this was going to be like really competitive. I thought there's going to be a lot of people up here, and there's not. Like there are a lot of people who are solving education. Don't get me wrong. But kids my age, like in their 20s, who are also doing it, it's very few. I think it's the same thing with any other problem. I think people psych themselves out. They're like, oh, wow, that problem. How would I solve it?
Yeah, they make these assumptions like it's unsolvable. Like, oh, there's too much. I'm too late. That's a big thought. I'm too late to the poll.
Yeah, it's the one person who says, you know what, fuck all that. I'm going to go do it. That's the person who does it. That's the person who fixes it all.
It's kind of crazy, even with our company with TrueFace, how quickly we realize that, we're one of the leading brands in machine learning and facial recognition. And it's just like, wow, this happened. This happened quick.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys are seeing it. Like, there's a lot of companies out there that have a very presentable brand, very, good looking thing on paper. And then when you get to know them, it's like, what are you guys even doing? Like, you're raising, $100 million. All that money went to like salary and buildings.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so inefficient, man.
I'm blown away learning more just about when you're just in business, dealing with companies, how some of these massive companies are run by children. They don't know what's going on, which, and the other end, being a child is good. You want to strive to be a man child, but just in terms of getting shit done,
got a boss up.
Everyone's on a vacation, man.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing that happens with nonprofits. Like anything like a small business, like a smaller nonprofit can be more effective than like a $1 billion company or like a multi-million-dollar company because they have to be efficient. Like they can't, have all this expensive stuff. Like when I was in Bolivia, for example, I was with a guy who owns a nonprofit, and he was telling me about the Red Cross. Like there was a water crisis in like Uganda or like some place in Africa, and to fix this water crisis, the Red Cross got involved. They had an AC-130. It landed. Back opens up. 2 Humvees come out, all decked out in Red Cross, by the way. So this is like, let's just say $20 million right there. And then the jet fuel to get over to Africa. And then a water truck comes out filled with water. And so then the water truck delivers the water, but all that money, $20 million, just to get one water truck over where they could have just paid for all the water trucks.
Who's signing that paper, man? Who's got that job that signs that 20 mil? Like,
well, dude, it's a whole nother story. I don't want to get into. It's a whole system, yeah. It's just being inefficient, right, is a big thing. So like you said, small companies and startups and small businesses, that's what this country really runs off of. Mm-hmm. And that's why we need systems in place to let our small businesses flourish. And, companies that have 3, 4, 5 people, or startups that have 1, 2, 3 people they can make a big change.
So let's talk about mission critical for Spencer Taylor. We're talking about education. We're talking about documentaries. You are all about it. You've seen it early on. You love them. You think that do you say documentaries or documentaries?
I say documentaries.
Documentaries.
Kind of like mesh it in there. Yeah.
Mesh it in there. Do you think that's the future? I mean, it's not even the future. It's now in regards to film. Yeah.
Yeah. In regards to film. Well, yeah, I think, when you get to this point where every film is kind of like the same story over and over.
Right. And told in a million different ways.
Yeah. It's just slightly different. Like superhero movies, it's like, okay, we know like the superhero's not going to die. They're going to fix it all. And like Marvel does a great job of making superhero movies. I love those
super movies.
Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to documentary, you're documenting real stuff that's happening. Like it's real stories, and it's incredible. And back when I started documentary film, I remember I saw it. I was like, wow, I would rather film real stuff than like artificially create something. And it just wasn't my calling. So I think the explosion of documentaries has just been insane.
What's that new platform you said is coming out or has come out? That
Quibi.
Quibi?
Yeah, Quibi from Jeffrey Katzenberg. Yeah, he sold DreamWorks for like $3.8 billion. He's starting his own platform. But you also have like Amazon, you have Apple, you have, Netflix, you have all these other platforms that are popping up. I know Nat Geo is doing one. So you were talking about that, I think. Like it's just such an amazing time to create content that can shift people's minds.
Yeah, and that's what you're doing with this tour coming up. So you rented a tour bus.
Yeah, I actually bought it.
You bought a tour bus.
Bought a tour bus, 37-foot Winnebago.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah, baby. It's sick. I'm so stoked.
That's like every person's dream, right?
Yeah.
Rent the tour bus with the homies and go out on a mission, but you're not going around singing. You're going around documenting amazing humans in the education system and trying to show the inefficiencies of what's happening, but also you are offering a solution.
Yeah. Yeah, so the whole goal for me is to really change the education system in a big way. I think backtracking, when you look at how our education system started here in America, it tells you a lot about why we're at where we're at. In 1892, there was a group called the Committee of 10. So it was 10. It was a mix of university presidents. It was the Secretary of Education at the time. And think, this is 1892. Like, try to put yourself in that mindset. Like, this is Industrial Revolution. Like, the country's still expanding into the West. Like, there's a lot of stuff still going on, So this is back in the day. And so what these guys decided is they said, we're going to teach everybody the same, no matter what they want to do. We're going to teach them the same things, and we're going to test them in the same way. And we don't care what they want to do. We're just going to prepare them for, these standards that we think are necessary. And so, fast track to where we are now today, think about how many systems still operate that way, right? Standardized testing, college admissions, K through 12, a bell rings and you go from one classroom to the next classroom. And then there's a teacher sitting in front of you telling all the kids what to do. All that's teaching is compliance. Because in 1892, we were trying to prepare a workforce to go into the industrial model. So now look at the time we're in. We're in a digital renaissance in a sense. That same model is absolutely not what we need right now. We need a completely different model. We need as many creative thinkers and free thinkers as humanly possible. We don't need to teach compliance. We don't need to teach obedience. We need to teach people how to access their creativity and how to express that properly. Like, education is
the grading thing has to figure out too. We need a new way to grade.
Yeah. So I have a solution for that. So one of the psychologists that I've interviewed, she's a world-renowned psychologist. Her name's Carol Dweck, and she's a Stanford psychologist. She was, studying all these different education systems all over the country, and she went to Chicago, and she found this school that had completely abandoned grades. And so instead of the, A, B, C, D, all the graded model, they switched that out to a model of yet or not yet. So you either got it or you didn't get it yet. And they hooked up brain scanning devices on these kids, and they found that the kids who went through the pass or fail system, whenever they approached a problem, their brain was dead. They had no brain activity. Because when you're told you're a failure, what makes you want to fail more, right? When you're like, hey, here's a D. It's like, okay, like, fuck that, dude. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And then when you're told, you didn't get it yet, well, then they measured their brains in the yet or not yet system, and their brains were super active anytime they faced a problem. So grades, in a sense, even, are very archaic. First off, let's just think of a standard, right? The concept of a standard is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's why we have so many mental health problems. And that's why we're in such a bad situation that we're in. Think about, I like to use the example of snow, right? When snow comes down from the sky, every single snowflake, there's trillions of them, every single one is different. So that's like us picking one snowflake out of this whole entire snowstorm and saying, this is the standard. All of you, every single one of you other snowflakes, you have to look like this. If you don't, well, you're just not there yet. That's manipulation. That's foolish.
Yeah.
Like, it's so stupid that we have these standards. And so when we see a billboard with Kylie Jenner, all these girls think that's the standard. That's what I have to look up to, right? Or even at a younger age, Disney princesses or like all these other things. This is the standard, right? We have to be a princess. We have to have a man save us and take care of us. Like all these ideas about standards get plugged into kids' minds at a very young age.
I love what you mentioned there. If I get a D, oh, well, I'm a D. I'm a straight D. Yeah. I'm just going to act like a D. I've been labeled a D. If you can call me a D, it is what it is. D's nuts, right? It is what it is.
It is what it is.
But it's like if you just, everyone is good at something. Yeah. Some people, as we were talking the other day, some people are fantastic at maybe engineering or maybe marketing or maybe drawing or maybe picking out fantastic rugs.
Yeah,
everyone has some.
And you can make a shitload of money picking out really fantastic rugs.
And you gotta you just gotta find your niche. You gotta find your thing. Yeah. You can suck at everything, but find your one thing and you find true happiness.
Exactly. And that's what our education system needs. That's the solution. What you just described is we need to, instead of trying to force everybody into the same classes, the same structures, and the same standardized tests and all that crap, we need to identify what each student, or what each kid loves to do. That takes time. That takes an army to help figure out. It takes working with the parents. It takes working with the teachers. It takes working with the principal. It takes everybody. The whole community has to help identify, what do you like, right? What are you passionate about? And you can't do that if you're only giving them 3 options, 5 options, 100 options. You got to just go. And so you find out this isn't what you like to do. Okay, on to the next. That's not what you like. Nope. Yes, I love finding rugs. I love creating jewelry. I love creating films or music, or I want to be a doctor, right? Or I want to be a scientist. I want to be an astronaut. You identify all these things and you don't limit them. You don't say, nah, the world doesn't need more astronauts. The world needs more of this. The world needs more of that. That's all bullshit. That's not your decision to make. As an adult, that is not your decision to make. That is the kid's decision. When they get to a certain point in their life, they might say, oh, I don't really, want to be an astronaut. But thank God I learned all this because I do want to be a rocket scientist. I do want to be a part of NASA. I just don't want to be an astronaut. It's like, let these young people, give them space. Why are we pressuring them? Why are we giving them so much pressure to do something that we think is the right thing? It's just ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, well, you can see it. It's personal to you. You can see that this is something that could have hindered us. What if we were told we could do anything for those 16 years? Look at what we can do now. Look at what many of our friends are doing now. Yeah. What if they were told that they could do that at 4 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old?
Yeah, that's why it is personal, because I remember I had dreams that I had with my friends. Like, I dreamt of going on a tour with my friends. I dreamt of doing all these things, of like opening businesses with my friends. But, where are they now? It's like a lot of them, no offense to them, a lot of them are doing some really badass stuff. But, I just look at like how school just divided us. It just took us all away.
Even the Ivy League system in itself is terrible, in my opinion. It's like, oh, you went to an Ivy League school, you must be so much more intelligent. I used to think about that as all my friends that did get into Ivy Leagues. I was like, oh, damn. Those homies, they know it's good. Yeah. But now, 3-5 years later, it's like the law of averages happen, and those people that were working at Ivy League schools tend to be working same jobs that the people that just continued hustling.
Yeah, and some of them do thrive. Some of them are incredible human beings, and then some of it is you got to be careful, because just because you have a degree from that school, like Elizabeth Holmes, right? It's like you get a degree from Stanford, and then you open this pharmaceutical company that's a scam, and bad shit happens. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's really about the separation that we have. Like, a lot of people don't understand, since the Brown versus Board of Education, which is a big moment in history where we said, you know what, we're going to accept all races. We're going to open up our doors to African Americans. Since that moment, we're still badly segregated. And a lot of it isn't as much about race anymore as it is about resources. If you have a lot of money, you can receive a much better education. If you don't have that much money, you got to go to a community college. You can't really receive the same education. And that's bad, man. Anytime in a society that you're segregating the quality of education, that's a very dangerous moment. And I believe firmly there's a way to still be, a capitalistic, entrepreneur-based economy and still provide everybody an equal education. And it doesn't have to come from the government. It just has to come from our awareness. We have to shift what it means to be educated.
I want to bring up the medical journey. My brother's a surgeon, and a lot of these people that get into the medical field, they decide at, freshman year that they want to be a doctor. And they're signing up for about, 15 years of their life before they're ever going to make any sort of significant income. I mean, you got to go through the trenches, especially if you don't have money. You rack up $300,000-$400,000 in debt just to become a doctor.
Yeah.
I feel like that needs to change somehow.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at how the medical industry really is funded and why college costs so much, right? It's because of the pharmaceutical companies. Like, you, as a doctor, you're required to take like one course on nutrition. Think about that. One course. Like, it's like 4 hours of credits or something like that. I know that because my mom was a nurse, and I know that from a lot of doctors. Like, nutrition is not the focus. It's about, how can we take all of these people and push them through a medical system where they learn how to, prescribe things. And doctors are phenomenal. Trust me. Like, they do need a lot of that education to do the things that they need to do. Because I know if I got sick, if I broke a bone or something, like, I'm so grateful for that doctor. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure it's not my expertise. I don't want to like get into it and offend people, but I do think there are much more efficient ways that we can do things. Like, do we have to go through all of these courses to learn what it means to be a doctor, or would it just make more sense? Like, find these people who really are talented and good, candidates to be doctors, and, let them like learn directly from doctors. Like, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean,
people to do that.
I'm no expert on this subject too, to make this clear. I just see from what I experience. And my brother tells me, he learns more when he's in a clinic following a doctor, he's talking to patients every single day, than he can from 4 or 5 years of studying. Right?
Definitely. That's how anything
it's kind of like I said, do we need the Pythagorean Theorem? It's a great name though. Pythagorean Theorem. Cool. That dude crushed it.
Maybe some people do, right? Maybe if you're like figuring out how a rocket ship goes around Mars, maybe you do need to know what a parabola is. But like, dude, when in the hell are you actually using some of these things in your real life? And then people justify like, no, like math is really good for problem solving, and that's why we should do that. I'm like, okay, I agree, right? Math is great. But calculus, trigonometry, like, when is the last time I was doing anything with those things? You can learn problem solving from other things, and that's what people need to get out, these dated ideas of like problem solving comes from math. Like, okay, no, it doesn't. It comes from us coming face to face with a problem and solving it, right? It doesn't come from math.
I think teachers are really good people too, but the way it's structured right now, it hinders their ability to teach.
Absolutely, dude. I was talking to a teacher last night. I showed my documentary trailer, and a few teachers came up to me, and one of them said, like, what you're doing is the reason why I left education. She's like, I had all these, really cool things I was bringing to the class, and once the school found out that I was doing it, they punished me, and, they said, nope, you can't do that. If you do that anymore, you're fired. And the kids were loving it, and she had to go right back to teaching for a curriculum. Like, every single teacher is under so much pressure. And if you took away that pressure and you said, hey, your goal, right, is not to prepare kids for college. Your goal is to help them identify what they want to do. That's so different. Like, I don't know if you can relate to this, but in middle school, or in elementary school, all the teachers are like, oh, you got to prepare for middle school, right? You're not going to be ready for middle school. And then you get into middle school, they're like, oh, you're not going to be ready for high school. You got to know this, or else you're not going to do well in high school. And then you get into high school, and they're like, okay, you got to do this. You got to do this if you want to go to college. College is it's going to be much harder, blah, 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 blah. And then you get to college, and it's like, by the time you get to college, you're finally doing a little bit of what you want to do. Like,
but you still don't know how to do your laundry.
Right.
Unless your parents taught you.
Like, how crazy is
But
that?
they're not teaching creation, right? They're not teaching you to be a creator, like a thinking outside the box, or putting you into a bucket to follow, because that's what's going to get you a comfortable job and push you along a system that makes certain people a ton of money.
Yeah. The best way to teach creativity is to not kill it, because that's the thing is we have this, there's this beautiful study done by a guy named Dr. George Land. He passed away, but he was working with NASA, and he created this test that would measure creativity in NASA because they needed people for a very advanced project. Very simple test, but it was very effective. And the test was so effective that they're like, let's try this on kids. Let's see how kids let's see what the results are. So they did this on a study of 1,600 kids, and they found that 98% of those kids operated at a genius creativity level. And so they're like, well, let's make this a longitudinal study. So they checked back in with that same group when they were 10 years old. That dropped down to 30%. When they did the test again when they were 15, it dropped down to 12%. They've done this test thousands of times, and they've tested people that are 25 and up, 2%. 2% of the population has a genius level of creativity. And you wonder why 1% of the population controls 40% of the wealth. It's because of that. It's because there's an assault on creativity. And it just slowly, time and time goes by, death, one by one. You just box them up.
That's the biggest world war going on that no one talks about.
100%.
Even recognizes the war of creativity.
Yeah,
that's powerful.
It is. It's deep, and nobody even knows it's going on. Everybody thinks like, let's play it safe. Let's be comfortable. Let's get our all these financial systems in place, and let's just collect a paycheck, get a job, retire, and if that's what you want to do, great. I'm not dogging on it at all, but I know future generations, we need to change this. I don't want to see this keep, perpetuating.
So we're going to take this message, we're going to take this passion, and you're going to put it into a documentary. I want to see the trailer, by the way. We're going to put that in the show notes for everyone that's listening and wants to check out the trailer.
Cool.
Stoked.
Yeah.
So we're going out on this trip, and I act like as if I'm in the bus with you.
Yeah.
And you're just going to bounce around to these different spots. It's all mapped out. Is there a certain person you're super excited to meet and talk with?
Yeah, dude. Actually, tomorrow I'm interviewing, there's a guy named Sir Ken Robinson. He's written a bunch of books on education. He has the #1 most viewed TED Talk of all time. It's over 60 million views on TED, and it's been viewed and transcribed all over the world. And I was at a film premiere probably 4 days ago, and I met him there. He was just sitting there at the after party, and I looked over, I was like, what? I don't fanboy any celebrities. And that's kind of how I've gotten to the point where I'm at in life. I don't care if you're a celebrity, man. I really don't. I care who you are. Are you cool? Are you doing something cool? And I fanboyed him for sure, because that was my, that's the peak, that's the top. And it's crazy because right before I went on tour, I'm meeting the peak of education, the guy that's at the top, and I'm interviewing him tomorrow. So I think along the way, I would love to connect with, athletes and musicians and, all sorts of people, but I'm not really stressing it. If you're passionate about education, I'm excited to meet you. I know it's going to happen. I
like what you just mentioned. It's you're a homie or you're not a homie. Are you do I want to eat lunch with you or do I not want to eat lunch with you?
Yeah, straight up.
I feel like you have a different perspective on it because you've seen it. You're deep in that world too. I mean, your podcast, fantastic, crushing it. How did you get linked up into that?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, when I moved to Los Angeles, mainly because I was just sick of the winter on the lawn
for real
in the Midwest. And I started to just network with people, get connected out here. I was making enough money so that, money wasn't an issue. So I started to, meet up with these different influencers that were on a platform called Vine at the time. And one of them was Jake Paul. And this is back, I think he had maybe just started an Instagram account. Instagram wasn't what it is now. Instagram was creative people posting artsy photos or people posting what they ate for lunch, And Vine was the big platform. And so I started to get connected with these people through mutual connections through Vima. Christian Sager, actually, he connected me.
Oh, Christian did?
Yeah, Christian connected me to Jake. And we went and we filmed some videos, and I just hit it off with Jake. And I've always looked for people I wanted to be like Rob Dyrdek. Rob Dyrdek was my idol as a kid. I was yo, I want a fantasy factory. I want to have my homies. I want to be doing crazy stuff. I want to be living it. And so I think that dream kind of led me to the people who were doing it. And so I think subconsciously, unconsciously, I moved to LA, and the universe just started connecting me with people that those are people that are in a similar frequency. Might not be the answer, but it's go work for them, go learn from them.
So you're thinking about this ideal lifestyle, and you find people that are doing it, and you make an effort to surround yourself with those people. Next thing you know, you're in the squad, you're doing it, you're living it. That's a big key. That's a big lesson right there.
I gave a lot up front, and I did not expect anything back. Like I never charged for my work. Like I literally would do so much stuff for free, and I probably did too much, right? There is a way to avoid. You don't need to do everything for free, but I was making enough money. Like and I think that's an important message, right? If you're new and you're getting started and you're in something, like get your finances taken care of so that you don't have to put the pressure on the people that you're working with. Like that's the biggest thing. Whenever somebody comes to work with me and they're like, dude, I'm really desperate right now, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go find somebody else. Like, I know that might sound like a dick, but it's not, because that's not my responsibility. Like I'm concerned about, me and, my vision and what I'm taking care of. So I knew that early on. Like with influencers that I was working for, I never wanted to be like, okay, well, I'll do this, but how much are you going to pay me? I would be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And then I would never hit them up about money. And it got to the point where I was doing so much work for them and adding so much value that they were like, dude, like, how much is it going to cost?
How do I keep you?
Like, yeah. They're like, what do you need? And I'm like, I mean, I just need my expenses covered, like $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month. And they're like, done. So I think that's a thing that a lot of young people struggle with,
I mean, I worked for free with our startup for a while before we did anything.
Yeah, we talked about that.
It was all about just getting in with the homies, making sure that they see that you're passionate about it.
I admire that about you because, coming from somebody who was very successful, you're making a lot of money as a young kid, and then, you have to shift into a new industry. You humbled yourself. I saw a lot of people from the Vima times that just didn't really humble themselves. Like they were winning on a big level, and then they didn't want to show when they weren't winning. And that hurts you, right? Because I think the biggest thing that people are drawn to is vulnerability, like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'm going through. I really like that you joined a startup. You're like, yo, screw it. I'm just going to dive in and do whatever for free for a while. And I'm sure, that's landed you where you're at. And now you're just learning, absorbing, and, all sorts of opportunities are coming your way.
Well, likewise about you, I like that you just enjoy the process, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like people always think that if we get to that next level, we're going to arrive. But every single day, like, it's like, boom. Like right now, we out here in LA and Venice. We with the homie Spencer Taylor. It's a damn good day to have a damn good day.
Exactly. And I think people are either stressing about the future, or like they're stressed about the past, or they're anxious about the future. And the only thing you can control is how you feel now. So it's a process, right? It takes time. Like you were just saying, like you want to work to unplug from your phone and unplug from social media. And like part of it, you kind of can't. You got to answer calls. You got to stay on top of things, and you got to do that. So
do you think happiness is completely a choice? Because you've been able to surround yourself with a lot of people that many people would aspire to be, right? The top 1% of this, LA and this type of people. You've met a lot of people.
Yeah.
Do you find that they are much more happy than just like some of your friends that say just are working an average type of living?
Yeah.
And what's up?
Yeah. It's good. It's making me think. I really feel like happiness is a choice. Like I think suffering is optional. And, I know it's easier for me to say. I know there's people out there that have had it much, much worse than me. And so, it's difficult, right? Because sometimes we're going through just crazy shit. And I think it's important to embrace that and to own it and to, choose to use it for the good. You can choose to use it for the bad. You can think everything's out against you. But I think when you look at some of the, most successful people, you look at like the Jay-Z's, you look at like Nipsey, or like you look at artists or business owners that have risen to just massive success. They started off in a really bad situation, right? They were growing up in the projects. Their family was getting killed. Like, I don't think there's any excuse out there. I think there's always somebody who's made it out. And if you want to be the person to make it out next, you can. And if you want to be the person to make an excuse, you also can. So I do think it is a choice.
My homie, Mike Parzak, shout out. He was telling me that he's now a chiropractor. He runs this thing. And he says that some people will come in and everyone has different pain thresholds. Like someone will come in and they have seemingly nothing wrong with them, right? There's like their back's fine, everything's fine, but they're freaking out at level 10 pain. And then it's totally fine right after, right? But then there's other people that have like 3 broken ribs, 3 back surgeries, have limped in and they walk in, what's up, man? How's it doing? I feel great. You know,
got to play in the game tomorrow. Just get me right.
It's like that pain threshold. You know, what is your pain threshold? What brings you down? Like, I think that's a question we all need to ask ourselves.
That's good. That's a good question.
Because even with me, like I definitely have went through a lot of challenges over the past year, way more than I've ever had physically. And although other people have had it way worse, to me, it's the worst thing I've ever experienced. And I feel like even though when you hear someone that says they've had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, you just don't know what that is until you go through it.
Right.
Even when someone's telling you about it, it's so hard to put your mind there unless you've been through it.
Yeah. That's a big reason why I've chosen to get into Ironmans. Like, that's the reason why I chose to get into triathlon, because I don't have some like life-threatening illness. I don't have, like physical pain that I've gone through, because I've taken care of my body for quite a long time, and I swam. Like, that's really easy on your body. So, I choose to put myself into situations where I have to like confront my pain tolerance, because when you're 130 miles into a race, or you're hopping off a 112-mile bike and you have to go into a marathon and you're in 85-degree heat, like, bro, that's the worst shit ever. It sucks. And you just have to power through it. So I seek those opportunities where I can put myself into the situation, because, if you don't, and if you just want comfort and you want everything to be happy, I think we live in, one of my mentors, Darren Oline, says this. I think we live in a time where there's a lot of fatal conveniences. I think it's very convenient that we can go down, we can get a coffee, we can get, a beer, we can, eat whatever we want to eat. We can, get a nice fancy car, and we can, have water coming out of our sink. But the water coming out of our sink might not be the healthiest for you, right? Like, eating whatever you want might not be the healthiest for you. So I just always choose to try to live a life where comfort isn't my goal. Like, comfort's kind of like a luxury to me. And I think really my goal is like pushing myself to be the best. And comfort's kind of the enemy for me. I'm like, anytime I start to get comfortable, I'm like, damn, I need to change something
Ice bath, homie. Jump in the ice.
Exactly. Do something, right? Do something that's uncomfortable.
Fatal conveniences. I'm gonna learn from that. That's a great word that can describe a lot. That could be a book in itself.
Yeah.
That'd be a great book title.
Man. I think you got to start just looking around at you. Look at your life and say, man, what are my fatal conveniences? What is so easy for me that it's like making me a weaker human being?
So Spencer, this is something I love to ask anybody from all different ranges of life. And it kind of goes back to looking back when you were, say, 16 years old. And if you were to be able to tell yourself, and you could have said, like, what up, homie? It's you 10 years later. How you doing?
Yeah.
You're
I'm
not
a New Yorker now.
You're not hallucinating.
Yeah.
This is legit. Time's ticking.
Yeah.
What would you have told yourself that could have saved you a ton of time, money, heartache? And obviously the answer can't be nothing, because it made me who I am. But,
right.
But what do you think that 16-year-old person needs to hear?
I would just like affirm to myself that, like, yo, your dreams are going to come true. Like, that'd be the biggest thing. Like, your dreams are going to come true. And I think that would just play with my young mind. I'd be like, what? Like, because it's interesting. I instantly think of my grandma when I was very young. I was super young. I was probably like 5 or 6 or so. And my grandma would always tell me, she's like, I don't know what it is, but I think you're going to do something really big. Like, I don't know what it is. And it would bug me. I would always ask her, I'd be like, what is it? What am I going to do? And like, so I think that stuff goes a long way. When you just like tell somebody, like, I think you're going to do something really, really big, then it like bugs you. You're like, damn, like, I got to do something really big. So that's what I would tell myself, is like, yo, you're going to do something really big.
It's like if you could see into the future, and it's like sometimes you don't want to know, because it'll be like, oh, 5 years, death's coming, homie. Now the next every day you're looking out like, where's it coming? Like, you're like freaking out. I'm wearing 3 helmets.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of life. Like, that's why I don't want to go see a psychic. I don't want, somebody to read me and tell me like what's my, what I'm going to do here. I think the beauty in life is figuring that out. Like, the journey is epic, dude. The adventure that life offers is incredible. And the more creative you are, the more open you are, the better that journey is going to be.
If you choose to allow yourself to believe that is the case, right? Because most people have been there in a situation that they don't believe that's real.
Yeah.
You know, it's especially just you can get caught up in a cloud.
Definitely. Yeah, you get caught in a fog. I think a lot of people are living in the fog. I think a lot of people are. I think they're just misled. Like, it goes back to the intuition. Like, they've just been treating themselves poorly. They haven't been giving their body what it needs, mind what it needs. They haven't been believing in themselves. So then that
pushing their limits too.
Yeah. That plants them in an environment where other people are thinking like that. And, it's like, what? No. I mean, all my friends are doing the same thing. So, like, what I'm doing is not that bad.
Get your ass out of the fogs, homie. Get
True.
those high beams on. We got
True.
great technology today. YouTube's out there. There's good people like Spencer in the world making documentaries and putting actual change out there. One video can change your life. Find something you're passionate about. Make moves on it. And there's a lot of people right now that are currently working a job, or they're currently working something that maybe not might be their passion.
Yeah.
And they're right on the fence of saying, screw it, I'm going to go take my savings and I'm going to go rent a van, like a giant bus with my homies and make a doc, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
But something's holding them back. Maybe it's because it's real world responsibilities, kids, jobs, whatever. Mm-hmm. But what would you say to that person that's right on the fence of starting that first business or jumping into that dream for the first time?
Be patient. Be patient with yourself. I think if you're, waiting tables, or if you're doing whatever you're doing, there's a reason why you're doing it. Like, there's a challenge in front of you. And I think that challenge is being positive. Like, I've talked to so many people who work in a retail job, or, and they're always complaining about something that happened that day. And I'm like, I challenge you to just live a whole day of just being positive. That's going to make you like a warrior, right? It's like when you go to the military, if someone's like, oh, like boot camp kind of sucked today. Like, it was just the instructor like told us to crawl under the barbed wire, and I was just not feeling it. It just pissed me off. Like, who gives a shit, dude? You got to go do that. You got to go get that done. And I think everybody's looking for like, some soft like cop out. And they're like, yeah, I feel kind of like, I don't know, I'm upset. And then, will you listen to me? And people vomit all their problems on you. Like, if you can go within, and if you're working a shit job, if you're doing something crappy, like, do it with your all, give it your all, and things will work out, right? Don't be so negative. Don't be so like impatient and be like, oh, I just wish I was like at the top of the world right now. Like, if you're mowing a lawn, dude, have fun mowing that lawn, right? If you're doing some like hard ass labor, have fun doing it. Like, just turn on some music and get it done. Like, turn on a podcast, get it done. Like, that's where a lot of people get caught up, and they get like information overload. But I think the simplest thing is to just calm down. Just, dude, find fun in what you're doing. Find fun. And if you can do that,
get childlike.
Yeah, dude, life is going to take you to some really cool places. Like, this is a perfect example, right? Like, somebody could walk in the door, you meet them, and boom, your life changes because you met that person. But if you were in a shit attitude and you're like, no, I just don't even want to be out here today, and you go in the back room, wherever you're working, that person comes in, you didn't meet him. You weren't open to it. The universe is ready, bro. Every single second of the day. The universe is ready to send you what you need. But people don't understand that. They don't know that. So they're like, I'm in the middle of Michigan mowing a lawn. Like, that's, what do you mean? It's like, if you're just positive, if you are, open, if you're searching for, the right thing and the right person, like, it's going to come. You'll find it.
Visualize yourself better every day. And for everyone that's just first meeting Spencer for the first time, I mean, you live it, dude. I mean, you check out the Instagram page Vibe Source. Yeah. Unbelievable. You guys are almost at 1 million followers. Yeah. And it's truly just good, happy stuff.
Yeah.
Which is tough to get a lot of people around that good, happy stuff. It's not as catchy and fun as, viral content.
Yeah.
But the fact that you guys have gone there, it's got to be one of the biggest pages in that niche in the world.
Definitely. Yeah. It's doing really well. Like you said, a lot of people I think people are becoming more open to wanting positivity. So I think it's a really cool time because, that there's still, I still love to watch a comedy stand up or, a movie or something, but I also like to have my daily dose of positivity. I think a lot of people are like that.
Hell yeah. Let's IV up, go straight to the bloodstream.
Jamming in there, bro.
All right, Spencer, how can the homies, how can everyone listening, how can people get more Spencer, follow the journey of everything?
So at Spencer Vibes, VYBES is all my social media. And like you said, we're about to go on a tour all across the U.S., and I'm going to be daily vlogging that on the YouTube channel, putting a bunch of content out on Instagram. So yeah, it'll be really easy to find out what's going on.
I appreciate your time. It's so great to see you. So great to connect before the tour.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
We'll definitely be keeping tabs.
Absolutely.
All right, Spencer Taylor, everybody. We out here.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Len Jones Party of Two. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review and subscribe to stay up to date on our new episodes. And remember, hope is not a strategy. Keep making moves. Till next time, peace.